Okay guys, so I discovered that it wasn't a bug in the program. I happen to have a third-party piece of software that I use for recording that the hotkey for that apparently was Command Option 8, which I have since fixed that. Okay, so again, I'm just sharing with you how the software thinks and how easy it is to affect something by selecting something. Now, again, I mentioned in a previous video that that little selection trick of growing is not the cure for cancer here, right? So as an example, if I click in here with my lasso tool, we discover that we can come up here and we can grow the selection. That's because there's not as many tonal changes in here as for the apple. So as an example, I try that same technique with the apple here. I'm just going to go from here to here. So watch what happens. If I go to select and I hit grow, it's going to bleed out into here. Now I could try to combat that by changing my tolerance level. I'm just going to click right here and let's make my tolerance level be, let's make this 25. I'm sorry, 25. 25 gives me 50. If I click right here, see now I have to play this little game of holding down the shift key or affect the tolerance level. So again, if I change this to say 12 and I go to my lasso tool again and I try that same trick here by going to select grow. Okay. For the rose, it's still working not too badly, but for the apple, it's kind of a lost cause because there's too many tonal changes inside of here. The same thing with the pear, there's too many tonal changes inside the pixel depth. So that's something you have to experiment with and get to know. So it doesn't work with the rose. So if you want a good rose selection technique, then that's the one to use. All right, so let's continue. Let's move forward with this. Now, here's the objective here, right? First of all, let's take this file and save this as version 2. Okay, good habit to get into, especially for production techniques. Even though I have a background copy of the original working copy Fruit, it still makes sense to have different versions. This way you can go and make changes to it. Okay, now here's again a technique I want to share with you. We want to load the rose selection. We want to load the orange rose. That was Command Option 7. Now that it's selected, it can be affected. We want to put rose inside of its own layer, and we want to make a copy. So we can jump to the layer by hitting Command J. Command J makes a copy. So we'll just double click here, and we'll call that orange rose. Now keep in mind, hit Command J, which makes a copy. Okay, Command Shift J would have cut it. So if you came back to this layer here, I'm in the Move tool right now. Command click right now, I'm in the orange rose layer. Command click right now, I'm in the fruit layer. So if you're in the fruit layer and I Command Option 7 and I Command Shift J Macintosh, Control Shift J for Windows, it's going to make a cut. Notice that there's now no rose down here. If you can see that. So Command Shift J, I'm going to undo that. Command Shift J makes a cut. Command J makes a copy. So Command J is copy via layer. Command Shift J or Control Shift J for Windows is cut via layer. So it depends on your circumstance. Now, because I have this rose in its own layer and I'm in the Move tool, I could simply hit Command click, and I could just move the rose someplace else. I could put the rose like right here. Okay. Now, if I want to make a clone copy of that, I hold down the Option key for choices, Option for choices, and I can put a rose here, and I can put a rose here, and I can put a rose here. Now, before I do that, I've decided that I do want to have multiple roses, but I want to make this rose smaller. So how do I do that? Command T for transformation. Command T, and I can make the rose smaller, and I'm holding down the Shift key. Make sure you hit the Return key to OK those changes, and I'm going to put the rose right there. Okay, so that's pretty believable that that rose could be part of the stem. Sort of. I mean, what do the flowers have to do with that stem? But you know, you can fake it. Now, again, I'm going to hold down the Option key, make a clone copy, put a rose here. Option key, rose, Option key, rose. Now, I probably want to make this big enough to cover up the background. That's totally up to you. So I can hit Command T, and I can make this slightly bigger by holding down the Shift key. Option key, clone copy. And there I have a fairly convincing setup here. Okay, now what we've done here is we made a whole bunch of rose copies. Now that's not a good or bad thing, but those are now rose copies. Now one of the things I could do, I can take these roses, hold down the Control key, pop-up menu. Okay, and now Macintosh here, Control key, pop-up menu. Windows is simply right-click. I can choose to merge the layers together. I could choose to merge the visible layers together, or I could flap image here. In this particular case, we're going to merge layers. Okay, so now all those roses are part of one layer. Now, advantage, disadvantage. Of course, my file size is smaller, but now I can't move them separately. So I just want to share that technique with you. It's Command Option Z, undo, undo. So Command Z toggles between undo and redo. Command Option Z goes backwards. Control Alt Z, Windows. So again, if you want to merge, in order to affect the layers, you need to select the layers. I can put this all in the same layer by merging layers. Okay, we're not going to do that, but I'm just sharing with you that you could do that. Now, here's my objective here. I want to go to my B for brush tool, B for brush, and I just want to pick a different color. In fact, I'm going to basically make different color roses with the different colors that I see inside this apple. All right, here's a simple way to do this. Inside the brush tool, B for brush, first of all, I can make my brush bigger by the right bracket, left bracket next to the P key, next OP, left bracket, right bracket on your keyboard. Right bracket key makes it bigger, left bracket key makes it smaller. So we're going to make the right bracket key bigger. Now, important step here, all right? In the B for brush tool, and I want to paint with a color that's inside apple. We can do that by simply holding down the Option key to color sample that color. Now keep in mind I'm in the brush tool. I want to stay in the brush tool because I'm about the brush, about the paint. Hold down the Option key for choices. I can make the foreground color. I'm going to show you how to make these roses different colors in our next video.